Okay, I know what you guys are thinking here. There's just no way that there's going to be a video about Sudowoodo being used in ADV OU. And I'm here to tell you, it's not really. We'll go into this first slide here talking about Sudowoodo. It's strictly worse offensively compared to things like Aerodactyl, Rhydon, Golem, Aggron. All these are rock-type Pokemon that have the ability Rock Head. The only real advantage to Sudowoodo is being a pure rock type, so it doesn't have any ×4 weaknesses like Rhydon, Golem, and Aggron. Aerodactyl does not have any ×4 weaknesses, but it's also a decent bit frailer than Sudowoodo, which is like basically the only thing we can say that Sudowoodo has going for it over Aerodactyl. I mean, it doesn't even have a higher attack stat. Aerodactyl's at 105, Sudowoodo is at 100, so not great. But you might be able to use Counter to catch an HP Grass Celebi or something like that. Maybe an Earthquake from Flygon, or yeah, that's basically it. The conclusion is essentially that Sudowoodo doesn't really do much, but it does make your opponent look like a clown if you beat them with it. And yeah. But why do we mention Sudowoodo at all, right? Like, what does this have to do with ADV? Why am I even bothering bringing it up if I'm saying that it's a severely outclassed Pokemon? Well, that's because we're trying to make our opponents look like clowns when we beat them with it. This is a Guacamole, which is one of the stranger ADV ladder achievements. You can see the team right here. And yeah, that's kind of cool, I guess. I'll send a link down in the description that takes you to the Smogon forum thread where all the ladder achievements for this tier are hosted. But a little bit brief discussion on what ladder achievements are. Essentially, it's just some challenges in case you ever want to like do something to spice up your ADV laddering experience. Some of them are a little bit more like skill based, like achieve a high ranking, like top 100, top 50, top 10, top 1, I think, or something like that. Maybe top 5. I don't know. There's an achievement for achieving certain ELO ranks, certain GXE. How many wins you can get in a row, things like that. But we're going to be talking about the luck achievement a little bit, or the luck, I don't even know what you would call it, because it's like a list of 8 achievements. But one of them is to get a win with the Guacamole team, which is this team right here. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a brief overview of these Pokemon here. We're going to get a little bit more in depth on each of them as we go through this video, but as you can see, we have a lead mixed Tyranitar with Fire Blast, Ice Beam, Brick Break, Hidden Power, Grass. Dragonite is in the back. Fire Blast, Ice Beam, Hidden Power, Grass, Brick Break. So very different, these two. Armaldo with Aerial Ace, Rock Slide, Metal Claw, Strength, which has got to be one of the strangest looking sets I've ever seen. It almost looks like somebody's like in-game team. But alright. Sudowoodo, of course, with the low kick, counter, strength, and rock slide. This is probably something that I would have used if I could have caught a Sudowoodo in Leaf Green when I was 6 years old. Golduck, it's got Surf, Calm Mind, Endure, Ice Beam, and then a Pokemon that we're actually slightly familiar with. Well, I guess we're a little bit familiar with Armaldo, but this is like, this set is not real, okay? This Ludicolo set, however, is kind of real. It's like on the precipice of being real. You have Rain Dance, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Hidden Power, Grass. So with max special attack modus, so it's kind of like a, I think the Rain Sweeper Ludicolo set is similar to this. Could be wrong. You'll have to go and watch my Ludicolo video if you want to see that, but I think it's just a little bit slower than what that Ludicolo set is. At the risk of losing some of you here with how terrible this team is, let's take a little bit of time to see if there's anything actually genius about this team here. The answer is going to be probably not, because, well, it's a challenge team. It's not supposed to be easy to win with this team. So let's get into it. Lead Mixed Tar, which I believe has been coined Guactar by a player named UD. I want to note here there are 3 players, I think, who get sometimes confused for being each other. UD, UDM, and Undisputed. These are all 3 different players, at least as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, UD, not the same as Undisputed. And neither of them is UDM, as far as, again, as I'm aware. I keep repeating myself a lot, don't I? In any case, Mixed Tar is a pretty legitimate set. And it's pretty legitimate in the lead slot in ADV. Guactar, I think, is specifically referring to the 4 coverage moves that you pick on this Mixed Tyranitar. I think sometimes you'll see Crunch, or maybe an Electric move instead of Hidden Power Grass. But Hidden Power Grass is also very, very common because you want to be able to hit Swampert pretty well. But you have some pretty strong coverage options, and you can hit some of the common leads and punish some common switch-ins. So versus opposing offensive Tyranitar, Brick Break is doing upwards of 76 to 90%, so that's pretty good. You have a decent move to click there. Now, granted, you have to be careful because if they are an offensive Tyranitar, there's a good chance they have Dragon Dance, and if they Dragon Dance up, you have absolutely no bulk, so they are probably threatening to kill you, especially if they have a fighting type move like Brick Break of their own. Although, I should say, DD Brick Break is not very common on Tyranitar in this generation. Brick Break is not an uncommon move. More so you see it on the mixed Tyranitar sets. Like, Pursuit, I guess, is also technically a mixed set, but not to be confused with the mixed set, which is more similar to what we've been discussing up to now. So hopefully I didn't confuse anybody by bringing that up. But against Zapdos, we're actually not too terrible either. Offensive Zapdos, we are threatening a 2-hit KO with Ice Beam, and that's pretty good. But I want to note that if you're up against Timid Zapdos, which is, I think, the most common Zapdos that you'll see, it has about a 25% chance to 2-hit KO you back. So it's not always like super duper ideal to trade the Ice Beams, because if they roll high enough on that first hit, then they might just kill you on the second hit. So yeah, that's not great. But I should note as well that while Zapdos, that Thunderbolt has that para chance, you do have Lumberry on this Tyranitar, so you don't have to worry so much about getting paralyzed. So that's actually not too bad. There are some other leads you could hit, like Metagross. You have Fire Blast for. Granted, you're almost like you're basically gonna have to crit the Metagross to kill it though, because Metagross has just enough bulk to not die to these weaker coverage Fire Blasts. Suicune, yeah, let's not even talk about that one. And Skarmory, well, I mean, again, Fire Blast is doing some decent damage to Skarmory, so, and you have Lumberry, so you're not that scared of Toxic, so that's not bad. But I think one thing that is kind of funny about this team is that the mixed coverage was so nice, they had to use it twice. The only difference between these two sets literally is the Pokemon. They have the same EV spread, they have the same moves. For some reason, Dragonite has it in a slightly different order, but alright, whatever. And yeah, it's got, I guess it's got leftovers instead of Lumberry, which is a pretty notable difference. So the sort of main draw of Dragonite as compared to Tyranitar here is that they The Dragonite has slightly higher special attack, so it's a 100 base instead of 95. Let me loop that. There we go. And both of them have the same attack stat, which is kind of interesting. The 134. You wouldn't think that it would be so common. Well, it's not really. These are the only two Pokemon that have it, but kind of interesting. Dragonite is faster than Tyranitar. Obviously, Tyranitar, that 61 base speed, not super great, but it is a plus speed nature, so we can outspeed things like Swampert for sure. Dragonite, on the other hand, is, I believe, base 80 speed, so it's speed tying things like Medicham. So, whatever you think about Medicham, I mean, Dragonite is just as fast. It definitely doesn't have quite the attack stat that Medicham does, but, I mean, Dragon Flying is an interesting defensive type. It's got some applications versus these like fire and water types, and grass types, as long as we don't have ice moves. Then yeah. So you can lean on whichever has a better defensive utility into the matchup that you're playing with or playing against. But you want to use both of these Pokemon as efficiently as possible because these sets are like halfway real. I mean, mixed Tyranitar is pretty real. This mixed Dragonite here, I mean, there are mixed Dragonite sets, but I think a lot of them make use of electric coverage, like Thunder, for example. So, yeah. I don't know if I love the Hidden Power Grass here, because I think you're not very commonly going to be staying in versus Swampert, and then you'll probably notice this team doesn't have spikes, so yeah, Swampert can be a little bit of an issue, but in any case, like, yeah, I mean, these are decent sets, and let's actually talk a little bit more about Swampert, just as a little bit of a point of comparison for some of these Pokemon that are on the team. So, HP Grass is intended specifically to hit Swampert. You could probably hit some of the the water types, maybe some of the ground types with this as well. Ice Beam is probably going to be better into most of the ground types anyway, but you're probably not going to break through a Milotic or a Suicune with HP Grass, so I wouldn't really bank on it. But let's just take a look at some calcs here. All right, so here I have the standard or surf defensive Swampert, which has pretty much max HP with, I think, something like 44 EVs in special defense. You can certainly look it up on Smogon if you're curious about it. I have 252 HP sub, or what I'm kind of coining as modern offensive Swampert. A lot of the a lot of the Swampert sets that are running that offensive spread with 4 attacks, maybe potentially dropping Focus Punch for Refresh, are, instead of running speed, they're going to opt for more HP investment. And sometimes they can even run Substitute because you have 100 base HP, meaning you can make 404 HP and do 101 HP substitutes to live Blissey Seismic Toss. That's pretty nice. And then we have Sub-Salic, which is also known as Endpert, which has no investment at all. So, yeah. We're going to look at Tyranitar here. The HP Grass into the bulkiest of the Swamperts is going to do a minimum of 64%. To the least bulky of the Swamperts, going to do a maximum of 93.8, so you do not kill. If you had spikes, you had a chance to kill, but we don't have spikes on this team, so that's not great. Then we'll look at Dragonite, who is a little bit stronger here. As you'll see, against the defensive Swampert, you're doing a little bit more, not very significant. I mean, both are still going to 2-hit KO, but against the bulkless Swampert, you see that 91 to 107 roll right there. I think that's about a 50% chance that Dragonite gets the kill on Endpert. And you do outspeed it, so if it happens to be a case that you switch your Dragonite in as they switch their Endpert in, you can go for that 50-50. And if it had ever substituted before and you somehow forced it to switch, I don't know how you would, but maybe you did, then, or maybe it's like an N-Pert with no ice coverage, that could be a thing, then Dragonite might be able to handle this. And then finally, let's take a look at Ludicolo, who has the great rolls on Swampert, because it also has HP Grass for this team. You are guaranteed to kill the standard spread for defensive Swampert, and which clearly means that you're going to kill the less bulky of the two as well, or less bulky two other sets. You knew what I meant. So really nice, actually. Why do I put so much emphasis on Swampert? Well, Swampert's going to be threatening to our rock types, who are going to be so instrumental to this team. We'll talk a little bit more about them in a moment, but yeah. Ludicolo is kind of our cleaner for this team. It can clear our own Sandstorm with Rain Dance and then start clicking buttons. So this is the set right here. The ideal with this set is that with Swift Swim, you will double your speed and you will outspeed Aerodactyl and Jolteon. This is the same sort of speed tier that Metagross runs when it's using agility, because that's basically the speed tier that allows it to do what it needs to do after its agility while retaining the most HP investment that it can get. It's coincidentally also the same speed tier that Milotic sits at. Is there a reason why? Not really. I guess it's because it just doesn't run any speed investment, and it's sitting there naturally with no EVs. So there's no agility Milotic set or anything like that, or like speed past Milotic that does anything like that. But I don't know. Maybe actually you could try it if you wanted an offensive Milotic, 252 special attack, 252 HP or something like that. Let me know if you try that and send the team paste, I guess. But more about Ludicolo here. Hydro Pump is usually going to KO offensive Tyranitar and is guaranteed, I think, to KO Moltres, Zard, and Aerodactyl. If you have Rain up, you can OHKO Claydol as well. Ice Beam is going to one-shot Mence, Flygon, and Breloom, and it's going to 2-hit KO Zapdos and offensive Celebi, depending on Celebi's spread, I guess, because Celebi can run just... You could just throw darts at the board for Celebi's EV spread, pretty much. So, yeah. HP Grass, you will get a 2-hit KO on Starmie and Suicune. I think that might be offensive Suicune. I'm not sure. Maybe you do have rolls to get the defensive Suicune as well. But Milotic is a bastard. You cannot two-shot a Milotic without a critical hit, which is really, really lame. And we don't have anything to really force the Milotic out. We don't have Toxic. We don't have Leech Seed. So, yeah, this is not great. You're going to want to pick your moment wisely with Ludicolo. Maybe sometimes you get more than one moment, but I'll be honest, this team, like, I mean, it doesn't play at a pace that allows you to continually switch in things like Ludicolo. But I will mention that Ludicolo is pretty nice because it's a decent switch into Metagross, where this team really does not have another good switch to Metagross. Golduck, I guess, resists Meteor Mash, but you do not want to take an Earthquake necessarily. And the HP on Golduck, especially early in the game, is really, really important. So you can't really be switching Golduck in on things. So yeah, Ludicolo, best mon to take on Metagross. It's not necessarily the best set to do it, but hey, I mean, we don't get completely 6-0'd by Metagross. Now let's talk about Golduck. It's going to be similar-ish in utility to Ludicolo, at least it looks like that on the surface, but because we have Calm Mind, we're kind of the team sweeper here, and this is probably going to be the Pokemon that wins you the game if you do get a win with this team. So let's take a look at it. Surf is a pretty solid stab move. We don't have Hydro Pump, which is the standard for CM Golduck in UU. There is a OU set for Golduck. It's mixed. I don't really understand it that well. I mean, you have Cross Chop, which is kind of cool for hitting Tyranitar, but you do also have Stab Surf or Hydro Pump, which should hit Tyranitar pretty well as well. But I guess like Cross Chop is going to be good for Blissey, so maybe I shouldn't be crapping on Golduck using it for Tyranitar necessarily, but that's something kind of nice. But because we have Surf rather than Hydro Pump, we're going to need +1 to OHKO most of the water weak Pokemon in the tier, because we don't quite have the sauce to get there just without the boost. It is worth getting some small chip on opposing water weaks so that you can get Golduck to win in an endgame situation. There might be a situation where you might not be able to get that Calm Mind up, and if you can get something like a Tyranitar or a Claydol or whatever it may be into Surf range from your Golduck, then that might be your lifeline for the matchup. So that's pretty nice to know. Ice Beam. We will do 64% minimum to Celebi at +1. And that is, I think, assuming that you're running the standard utility Celebi spread. There are certainly Celebi spreads that run more special defense than that. So, yeah, you're probably going to 2-hit KO if you're at +1. That's not very good, to be honest, because yeah, I mean, Celebi is kind of tough for this team, as you'll probably see. So, yeah, you're gonna want to trade a Fire Blast into it at some point. Endure is going to help you proc your Salac Berry to get a speed boost, and then I just want to reiterate that you're probably not breaking water types with Golduck here. I mean, that's pretty obvious because your only moves are Surf and Ice Beam. So we're going to need to use Ludicolo to help us against those waters. Now, if you're up against Milotic, I mean, probably just forfeit the game. But, you know, Ludicolo, maybe you get there. I want to note about the speed tier here is that you're going to outspeed all the base 70s. The most common base 70 to run max speed, I think, would be Breloom. Which is kind of nice to not have to worry about getting spored while you're in with your Golduck. Although, I don't know how common it is that Breloom is going to want to switch into Golduck. But, I mean, if it does, you're faster. We're going to speed tie Adamant Heracross as well, which is, I mean, that's not great. I would rather just outspeed it outright, but, I mean, the team is what it is. I want to note that you're not allowed to make any changes to this team whatsoever. There are some slight optimizations you could make to keep the same 6 and the core identity of the team, but you're not allowed to make any changes. Like, I kind of wish I had Hydro Pump on Golduck instead, because you would be able to get certain kills, like +1 Hydro Pump onto a Jolteon would kill, but +1 Surf does not, so yeah, I mean, keep that in mind, I guess. I want to make some notes, though, about Cloud9, because I think that this is an ability that is a little bit confusing. If you're familiar with it in Modern Gens, it's kind of nice because it announces that it exists, and then in the showdown battle, it will kind of like cross out the weather at the top while Cloud9 is active. In Gen 3, we get no such luxuries. Cloud9 is not announced, and you don't get to see anything that sort of reminds you what it does. So I'm going to explain it here right now. It ignores the effects of weather while Golduck is on the field. And that is for the entire field, not just for Golduck. So what this means is that neither Golduck nor the opponent will take sand damage in Sandstorm. So that's pretty good. But it also means that Golduck will not benefit from a rain boost from water, or the rain boost to water type moves, or the damage reduction from fire type moves. It also means that if Sunny Day was up, for example, you would not take extra damage from fire type moves, and your water type moves would not be reduced in their damage either. So could be kind of nice there. For this particular Golduck set, it's a little confusing, I know. There's no need to worry about Sand plus Endure on Golduck as a sort of anti-synergy, because Golduck is not going to take that sand damage. But, I mean, also, again, keep in mind that your opponent will not be taking sand damage either while Golduck is on the field. So, say you chip something, like a Celebi, into range of your Ice Beam, it's possible that Celebi can Leftovers heal out of range of Ice Beam. So, yeah, keep that in mind. It also means that Ludicolo's Rain is not going to help you at all. So do not set up Rain with Ludicolo and then go to Golduck expecting to start sweeping with Surf, because Golduck is not going to get that boost. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's really good or bad for Golduck. It's kind of nice in a sense that your dedicated sweeper is not going to lose to your own Sandstorm at the beginning of the game, but it's not so nice that you have that Rain Dance opportunity and you don't get really anything out of it. But the other ability on Golduck was Damp, which honestly would be kind of good into Metagross because it keeps it from exploding. But, I mean, it's also just Damp, so I don't know if that's really that great an ability, because it doesn't help you out against any Pokemon that doesn't have Boom. So, but regardless, that doesn't matter. We're forced to use Cloud9, even if we would want to use Damp anyway. Although I would suggest probably if you're going to use Golduck on a real team, you probably do want Cloud9 and to pair it with Tyranitar. It's kind of nice because it's a water type sweeper that doesn't worry about Sandstorm in the long term. So Suicune, cry your eyes out, I guess. Alright, so let's take a look at these rock types. That coverage on Armaldo, it's pretty bad. I mean, Aerial Ace, like, okay, so there are some decently notable flying weaknesses in the tier, like Celebi, like Breloom, like Heracross. The unfortunate thing about Celebi, though, is that Bug would be much, much better coverage, especially from Armaldo, who gets Stab. But we don't have HP Bug on Armaldo, so yeah, we don't get to take advantage of that. Aerial Ace is pretty decent for hitting the fighting types who otherwise would wall your Armaldo set. In particular, it's pretty good into Breloom and Heracross, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's your best move to hit like Hariyama and Medicham as well. You almost 2-hit KO Hariyama with Aerial Ace, which is cool. It's not good. If you lead Hariyama is a nightmare for this team as well. I mean, there are a lot of nightmare matchups for this team. This team's terrible. But, I mean, Armaldo, kind of cool. Metal Claw, you might be able to get an attack raise with that, maybe. But yeah, no, it's pretty terrible. I think most of the time Armaldo is going to be clicking Rock Slide, and then you just hope that it gets some value, because this Armaldo set is not it. No knockoff, no rapid spin. All right, Sudowoodo. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about it. So. Strength is neither of these Pokemon's best normal type move. Both of them get Body Slam, which is 5 more base power and has a chance to paralyze, whereas Strength just does nothing. It's just an 80 base power normal type move for no reason. I also want to note that Sudowoodo does get the ability Rockhead other than Sturdy, which is on this team, which would allow it to use Double Edge, which would actually be a decent normal type move to use, but I mean, I guess whoever built this team didn't want us to have that. Sudowoodo would have been too strong otherwise, I guess. So it's basically strength is only to maybe hit Swampert on switch in, because otherwise you don't have a good move to hit Swampert with. I guess low kick might not be terrible. I don't know what low kick's base power against Swampert is. It might actually be more than strength, but probably not. I don't know. Somebody in the comments will let us know. In practice, neither of these Pokemon can really switch into Curse-Lax, but Armaldo can maybe bluff Harden because, I mean, if you expect the team to have a real Armaldo set, then maybe the idea is that it's a counter to Snorlax, and then they'll switch out. They won't want to stay in versus the presumed Harden Armaldo. Although if they know the team, then they know that they can stay on Armaldo forever, and then you just lose. But Sudowoodo's low kick can sometimes do good damage. In fact, it will 2-bit KO a Curse-Lax if it's unboosted. But if this Curse-Lax already got its curse boost, you're doing like something like 38% max. And then it'll curse again, and then it'll rest, and then you're playing for a critical hit, which is not the absolute worst case scenario to be in, but it's something. You can sometimes live +1 EQs, or an unboosted Metagross Meteor Mash with the Sudowoodo, and HP Grass from Celebi, and you can get that counter off. And I'll be honest, counter with Sudowoodo is probably just about the best thing you can do with Sudowoodo in any given matchup. If you can get Sudowoodo to counter something and kill it, that's about the best you could do. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, Sudowoodo is a pretty terrible Pokemon, but if you can get a kill on something else, then there you go. That's money. But yeah, no, these Pokemon are terrible. They're super duper weighing the team down. In fact, I would say probably the thing you can expect to do with them is to sack them to get an entry with something else. That's pretty much it. So we'll do one last little overview of the team. Basically, the goal is you're going to want to set up for a Golduck sweep, because this team does not have the juice to just win any other way, pretty much. Leaptar is going to set up Sand to pressure Pokemon like Snorlax and Blissey, who are otherwise nightmares for this team. I mean, there's so many nightmare matchups, like I said. Ludicolo can find some entries versus your water-type matchups, preferably if they don't have Toxic, so something like Milotic is not a great one to get in on. And you can come in on Metagross, attempt to set the rain and start punching holes. Though, I will say, when you set the rain with Ludicolo, you're probably going to want to set the Sandstorm back up with Tyranitar eventually, because the rest of his team wants there to be Sand Chip on the opponents, because holy hell, you will not break through most of these Pokemon if they're getting leftovers healing. Dragonite can help you finish off or apply further chips to mons that Tyranitar would hit. I mean, you might run into a team that happens to be really bad into mixed Tyranitar, and if it does happen to be really bad into mixed Tyranitar, it's probably going to be pretty bad into mixed Dragonite as well. So that's maybe a saving grace. Armaldo is great for sacking and getting an entry in for a better Mon, and Sudowoodo is kind of the same, but you can get a counter off. I shouldn't say Armaldo's completely useless. You can get it in on something like a Charizard or a Moltres or maybe a Zapdos and threaten a Rock Slide, but that's probably about it. It's so good at letting Swampert come in, which is not cool. If it's an offensive Swampert, though, or just any Swampert that doesn't have Toxic, you can use Armaldo to lure it in and then go to Ludicolo, which gives you an opportunity to set up a Rain Dance, and maybe Ludicolo starts punching holes through the team, particularly if they're pretty weak to the water, ice, grass coverage. But yeah, I mean, that's about it. And if all goes well, Golduck will just set up and sweep the team, which is, I mean, it usually doesn't go well. This team is not very good. I want to reiterate. I don't want somebody to come onto this video, see this team, and go, wow, Sudowoodo and Armaldo and Golduck on the same team, and Tetrafolium's using it. It's gonna be so good. I'm gonna beat some low ladder crappers with it. No, this team's bad. But this is gonna be the journey to see if I can complete the challenge. So, yeah, let's get into it. All right, we're setting the scene here. I'm gonna put some funny gifs of Pokemon that are on this team in the top right corner here. I don't think you care to see what the sets are, because I don't think you should use any of these sets. Well, maybe the Golduck set and maybe the Tyranitar set. And I mean, I guess the Dragonite set's not terrible, but let's just play some. We're gonna play some different music this time. This is from Toho 6. It's a old computer game. Only real unks will remember this game series. I personally don't play Toho. It's not exactly my type of game. I guess I'd be willing to try it at some point, but the music in it is fantastic. So we're gonna play a little bit of a playlist of it here. So first game with this team, and I should note that the goal is we have to beat a player who has a 1500 rating or higher. So this player is at 1550. This is eligible. I think at this point I'm at like 1529. Not bad, but we're gonna throw a lot of elo here, as you could probably imagine. This team is so bad, I have to reiterate. In any case, we're up against Report Poketubers, which is a great name. I don't know. I wonder if I'm going to get reported for posting this replay. We'll see. Lead Zapdos versus Tyranitar. This is probably the best lead we could see. We're going to go for Ice Beam into Jirachi. Hopefully we get a freeze. We don't, though. I can go for a Fire Blast, though, to get some chip. And Blissey will be revealed. And Blissey is going to be tough. I'm going to go to Armaldo because I would rather Armaldo get paralyzed than lose my Lumberry on Tyranitar. And I can threaten to Earthquake or Rock Slide. I don't know why I said Earthquake. I think Flygon came in and that distracted me. In any case, I'm going to go to Golduck and dodge a Toxic, which is probably fantastic for me. I'm going to make an aggressive double back to Armaldo as they go to Blissey. And then I'm going to double again. No, I'm not. I'm actually going to go for Metal Claw because I'm terrible. In any case, they're doubling to Flygon as I go to Tyranitar. I could go for an Ice Beam here. If I was faster than that Flygon, then great. I probably wouldn't be. But because this Blissey has kind of taken some damage here, I can go for Brick Break, and now they're dead to the next Brick Break. I'm going to predict them to go to Jirachi and go for Fire Blast, which is honestly really bad for me because I'm running out of Fire Blasts, and if I don't have any more Fire Blasts, this is presumably a defensive Jirachi with Wish, and that will just wall my entire team. I'd have to PP stall it out of Wishes, which I don't think I can last that long. So I'm going to go to Armaldo on the Zapdos. It goes for Toxic, so I'm thinking now that this is probably a rest Zapdos. Given how much damage it took and that it has Toxic. I am going to hard switch to Sudowoodo on the Flygon, predicted, and then go for counter, because I felt like my opponent would just take the Earthquake to get KO and not just play around and go for Toxic. And that was a great play by me. The Sudowoodo got a kill. Can you imagine that? Sudowoodo getting a kill in ADV. It's not clickbait, guys. I'm telling you, this is the Sudowoodo of the future. Starmie will come in, which is a entry point for my Ludicolo. It goes for Psychic, which is not great. I thought Surf or Hydro Pump would be coming. I don't think I calced this, but Psychic to me indicates that it might be a defensive Starmie with dual stab coverage. Not bad. It's kind of a decent option into Gengar if you happen to be playing against that. So I'm assuming that there's going to be a Spiker on this team. Probably Jirachi. Imagine if Jirachi got spikes. Skarmory in the back. It's kind of interesting, though, that they haven't gone to it yet, though. I will go to Dragonite on this Zapdos. I'm going to switch to Armaldo because I do not want to get Toxiced on Dragonite. Now I'm threatening a Rock Slide, so this Zapdos has got to switch. And it does happen to be a Fortress in the back. Rock Slide is going to do a pretty disappointing amount of damage into the Fortress. Also, I should note that Armaldo is not super duper fast, and Fortress might outspeed it. I'm not sure. I think Fortress would actually have to run some speed investment to do that, so maybe I'm just being neurotic about it. Because this Starmie has Psychic, I was thinking it probably didn't have Ice Beam, so I could go for an HP Grass into it. Good call by me to get the Skarmory low. Then they won't have a Spinner, which absolutely doesn't matter at all because I don't have Spikes on this team. But I can go for Fire Blast into the Jirachi. It goes for Protect, and I go for Fire Blast again. I think that going for Fire Blast again might have been a throw right there because I'm going, again, if I run out of Fire Blast, this Jirachi is just going to win. So I should have maybe went for Ice Beam there, predicting a switch to Zapdos, or, yeah, which would have been fine because Fortress comes in, all right. Starmie comes in. Well, maybe I could have went for HP Grass in that case. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. We're analyzing plays with this team, which is god-awful. Predicting Zapdos to go for either Toxic or Rest, I go to Sudowoodo. And then predicting a Jirachi switch, I will go to Tyranitar. Land a Fire Blast, which does 40%. Nice. I predict that they would go for Protect there, so I go for Brick Break. It also would stop Blissey from being able to come in and receive that Wish. Because if I can kill that Blissey, then honestly, the only threat on the team is Jirachi. So I'm kind of playing to get a burn or a critical hit here. Instead, I get paralyzed, but that's fine because we have Lumberry. Goes for Protect again. I go for Fire Blast, thinking that maybe they would risk it for some reason. I don't know. Something about playing to our outs, I think, is appropriate to say here. Knowing that you have to go for Protect with this Jirachi, I am going to go to Ludicolo, and I'm going to press, I think, Hydro Pump here. That does 38%. Decent. Not terrible. And I go for another Hydro Pump here. This is probably not a great play because they get a Wish Up and now they're threatening to go to Blissey. And what am I going to go to stop Blissey from getting the Wish? There's just nothing. So I kind of cope here and go for Rain Dance, which is not great. I'm going to need to get Tyranitar back in like ASAP so this Blissey doesn't just smoke me. They go for Aromatherapy, which I think... Was there anything on their team that was statused? I can't remember. Oh, probably the Zapdos using Rest on itself. In any case, I will go to Ludicolo, who gets a 30% Hydro Pump off on the Blissey. That's not bad. I will go to Tyranitar, set the Sand, and die. Not great. I probably could have went to Armaldo instead there, actually. But I needed to get Sandstorm really bad. So it is what it is. But Dragonite is looking not too terrible. I will go for a Fire Blast into the Fortress. I don't hate that Fire Blast, though, because I needed to stop that Fortress from being able to do something. And with 2 Ice Beams, I should be able to kill the Zapdos, and I'm faster than it. Well, assuming that this Zapdos is going to take that sand damage. It is kind of a dubious play, because if I lose Dragonite, I don't have a way to break through this Jirachi. Well, I kind of do, because it's only at 32% right now. I could maybe get a Golduck endgame on it, but I don't think they want to lose their Zapdos either, so I'll just take that Ice Beam. I'll go for Ice Beam here on the Jirachi, and I have, I think, one Fire Blast to click. I go for Brick Break, predicting that Protect. And then I will go for Fire Blast and I kill the Jirachi. So we're in a really, really solid spot. Although I don't know if I have a Fire Blast to hit Fortress anymore. So we might be in trouble there. I can go to Armaldo, who takes a hit from Blissey. I think I'm at over 100 HP, so I can go for Rock Slide. I miss the Fortress, which is really bad because I need to get damage on Fortress. I will go to Sudowoodo here. For what reason? I don't know. Like I could have probably just stayed in with Armaldo. I guess it saves Armaldo as a Spike Sack, maybe. I can go to Dragonite here, and I have the one Fire Blast. I click it, they go to Zapdos, and yeah, that was probably game losing right there. Because it says I have two Fire Blasts, but I really don't, so that kind of sucks. I probably should have went for an Ice Beam. That would have been really good as I get the Zapdos, but hindsight is 2020. I will lose the Sudowoodo there. And now I'm going to have to start with this Golduck Calm Mind Sweep. That's really my only out here. I can go for a Surf into the Starmie switch, which will kill that. Really, really good for me. Blissey does not have a move that can kill my Golduck. It will go for Seismic Toss. I get the Salac Berry. Note that this Blissey is getting leftovers healing. I go for Ice Beam because if I get a freeze on Blissey, I might be able to win the game. It also puts it into Brick Break range from Dragonite. It's not guaranteed, but I do manage to get the roll. And then Fortress comes in, which means I kind of have to just get a freeze here because I don't have any more Fire Blasts. If I still had a Fire Blast, we could have been in business here because I would have killed this Fortress. This Zapdos is still asleep, and I could have won the game. So I just needed to make one different play with this Dragonite going for Fire Blasts into things, and I could have won, maybe. I still had a chance to get that Hydro Pump crit on Fortress, but I don't get it, and I lose. And I say GG, and Report PokeTubers does not say GG back, so I'll remember that. I'll remember that. You almost lost to Guacamole and didn't GG. That's how I'll remember you. But yeah, no, I could have made some better plays. But honestly, that being my first game with the team, I thought I did pretty well. So let's see if I can keep that momentum going into the second game here. Metagross. Yeah, that's not good for me at all. But I go to Ludicolo and they boom. And you know what? I think that's fine because Ludicolo is basically the only thing I have for Metagross. If I lose the Metagross, or if I lose my Metagross check to boom there, I think that's fine. So this Zapdos, the Don't Status Me, I knew for a fact that this was a Choice Band Zapdos because I played this gamer before, and they've been jamming this team for a long time. 1675, by the way, with this team. Kind of cool. So I will stay in and take that Ice, or take that Drill Peck damage and then go for Ice Beam. The idea was that I needed to get Ice Beam chipped so that I could go to something like Sudowoodo and threaten this Zapdos out. I also wanted to make sure that it was locked into Drill Peck. But I do get a crit, which is really nice for me. I'm up 5-4 right now as they go to Snorlax. I will go for a Brick Break just to get some damage here as they go for Curse. So, yeah, it's not looking great for me. I'm going to go to Armaldo and bluff that this Armaldo can do anything to stop Snorlax. They're going to stay in and Body Slam again as I go for Rock Slide, and I get a decent amount of chip. Considering I did not go for Harden there, they probably know that the jig is up for me. I am threatening a KO here, though. But assuming that my opponent would go for Rest, I go to Sudowoodo, and they blow up and kill my Sudowoodo. I say in my chat, my Sudowoodo. I will go to Dragonite, get a pretty solid HP Grass off into the Swampert, which puts it low enough for Golduck to now win, perhaps. They said they're sorry about Sudowoodo. Very funny. I'll forgive them. I'll go for HP, not HP, Surf, just Surf. Kills off the Swampert. I have to endure to live a Giga Drain from Celebi, and then I will go for Ice Beam to get some chip. It's down to 33%, which means that Tyranitar can kill it, and if this last Mon is something that loses to Tyranitar, then I win. Yeah, that does not lose to Tyranitar. I have to go for Ice Beam Freeze. That's my only out. And yeah, my Leech-seeded Tyranitar versus this Suicune, which is now +1/+1, is not looking like it's going to win the game. Armaldo is certainly just going to die to Surf here, and yeah, that's it. I think this battle was like fake close, because I did manage to get them down to last Mon, but like there was just no chance I was going to be able to break through Suicune. This team is extremely bad into Suicune, by the way. Last Mon Suicune is going to ruin your day, especially if you don't have Ludicolo anymore. Because your only out, really, or your most realistic out, is that you crit HP Grass with Ludicolo. Or maybe you can try to get the Suicune to rest without any boosts, and then maybe you break through with some of your HP Grass Mons, but like, how are you going to do that? A dip below 1500, by the way, which is not great. There's a little bit of a balancing act when you're trying to play with this team, because you want to be high enough elo that you're going to queue into 1500 gamers, but you don't want to be so high elo that you're going to queue into like 1700 gamers, because how the hell are you going to beat a 1700 gamer with this team? In any case, we have Robert Random, who's at 1600. See if we can get close again. Lead Suicune, basically a forfeit right here, but I am going to go to Ludicolo just in case, and this might not be a rest Suicune, in which case the damage will stick. It reveals Substitute, Lead, Calm Mind, Substitute. Extremely uncommon that you would see rest on this set, so this is actually something I might be able to beat with Ludicolo. I force a Snorlax to come in, which means I can go to Armaldo. And this thing is going to curse. I'm going to maybe bluff that I have something to beat Snorlax here, but they don't respect it. They never respect it, by the way. They never respect the hard in Armaldo. But they will switch here into Metagross, which is not great. It didn't reveal any item there, so I'm going to assume that it's Choice Banded. I'm going to allow it to blow up on my Armaldo, but it doesn't blow up, it goes for Meteor Mash. But that's kind of good for me, because Ludicolo should take a Meteor Mash pretty easily. Okay, well, that was not as easy as I maybe thought. I could have went for Rain Dance there, which would have put me into probably a chance to kill this Metagross off, but I didn't want to get up or give up the Sand and allow Snorlax to switch in that easily. I guess it is at 57%, so maybe I should have trusted my Ludicolo's Hydro Pump to do more damage, but I somehow doubt that even with Rain up that it would 2-hit KO Snorlax from that range. In any case, they get a Mash boost, which is not super duper consequential, because pretty much everything on my team would die to a Choice Banded Mash anyway. But I am going to sack Sudowoodo here. If they get another Mash raise, which is not great, I am going to go to Dragonite, though, because I should be guaranteed to outspeed. And I will go for a Fire Blast, doing a solid 30% to Claydol. I guess I could go for an Ice Beam if I wanted to, but reading the Explosion play, I am going to go to Tyranitar. And then Metagross will come in and die to my Fire Blast. That's the nice thing about a max speed mixed Tar like this. Tyranitar comes in and goes for Crunch as I get my Brick Break off. So I'm actually cooking. This was a little bit maybe of a throw. I could have went for HP Grass. That should have killed Tyranitar. It would have hit the Suicune incoming as well. But I guess my thought process was, well, Ludicolo can switch into Suicune. Golduck can switch into Suicune. If this guy goes to Snorlax, though, on my HP Grass, that maybe wouldn't have been so good. But then again, I guess I get a faster Brick Break off. But, okay, that's fine. I guess HP Grass could have been better. I am going to go to Ludicolo as they double the Snorlax. Interesting play. I'm going to double back to Snorlax because I'd rather get blown up on the Snorlax. If I caught 2 booms on Snorlax, that would be, or 2 booms with the Tyranitar, that would be awesome. In any case, I am going to go to Dragonite and go for my Brick Break as they boom. Which, yeah, now the prospects are not looking so great. Salamence will come in, which is going to beat my Ludicolo. I'm thinking about this now. If I actually went to Golduck here, I probably could have won the game. Because Golduck is going to threaten the Salamence out. This Suicune would have to come in. I'd probably get the +1. And I might be able to duel the Suicune. And if I ever get the speed boost, then I should win. But I went to Ludicolo, and yeah, Salamence is going to beat me there. This is why it's maybe important that you guess what your opponent has unrevealed. With a team like this, Metagross and Salamence synergy is really, really nice. So, yeah, I should have known that Salamence would have been in the last and that it probably would come in. My opponent is a little confused on the Cloud9 mechanics, but they'll learn. I go for Ice Beam because it's my only out. I do get the freeze, but they thaw immediately. So, yeah, that's another loss for Guacamole there. Now, if they stayed frozen, I could have probably 3-shot it with Surf. Decent odds that if the freeze happens, that they are frozen for 3 turns. And if Golduck gets through Suicune, obviously it's killing Tyranitar. So, very, very close, but not quite. Alright, now we're up into this game. This opponent here is actually not even eligible for this, so, like, a part of me was like, maybe I should just forfeit so I'm not wasting my time, but I'm at 15-13 ELO. If I lose this game, I'm probably going to drop below 1500. It might not be easy for me to find another 1500 gamer, so I am going to play this out anyway, and maybe I'll learn something from playing this out. I will mention, these are not the only games I played with this team, but I cut out all the games that were against like a random 1200 gamer that I beat. It's like, who wants to see that? Or like, no, I think this is all. I have all the games that I played where the opponent was 1500 or higher. In any case, we see a lead Medicham. I'm gonna go to Dragonite, who probably takes the Brick Break the best out of all of my Pokemon. I am going to opt to save Sudowoodo, by the way. It could have been a sack there. Because if this is not Banded Medicham, which it might be considering it didn't reveal any item, but I think based on this damage, it looks like it's probably Lumberry or Salic. In any case, I could have sacked the Sudowoodo, but I didn't because Sudowoodo can sometimes live Brick Break. It might be a counterplay right there. I will go for a Fire Blast, anticipating them to want to go to something like a Steel type, like maybe Metagross, Jirachi, potentially Skarmory. I guess you don't really see Skarmory too often with Medicham. Not to say it's bad. Skarmory's pretty much good with anything. I am going to go for Aerial Ace, trying to call out the Medicham switch. Doesn't really work out for me, but I will go to Ludicolo on a missed Meteor Mash. This is a leftovers Metagross, so it can certainly switch up its moves, but once again, if Metagross goes for Boom on Ludicolo, that's probably fine with me, because at least I don't have to deal with the Metagross, and I get a critical hit with Hydro Pump. Very fortunate, because now I really don't have to deal with the Metagross. Aerodactyl is Substitute, which means that it's not Choice Band, which means that Armaldo can live a Rock Slide. I do, and now I would just go for Rock Slide again to try to break that Substitute. They're going to opt to switch their Aerodactyl out after they kill. I go for Rock Slide there. A part of me was thinking about going for Counter, but I figured that they would want to save HP on Aerodactyl for later in the game. And they do have this Magneton switch, which is pretty good for them. I am going to go for Counter here in case they had HP Grass. None of my other plays were really that good. Low Kick would have done, like, I guess, like, I don't know, like, I actually don't know, maybe like 50%, but it doesn't matter because Tyranitar Fire Blast should kill. It got the crit. In fact, actually, maybe it wouldn't kill. Maybe this is a bulkier Magneton. Or maybe Tyranitar Fire Blast just doesn't kill Magneton at all. And that crit was super lucky. I don't know. Somebody will do the calc and let me know. I'm going to sack Tyranitar here, because I don't think it's going to be able to do much for me in the rest of this game. Everything is outspeeding it. And then this gives me a Dragonite entry. I'll go for Ice Beam to get some damage. They reveal to have Rock Slide, which is not great for me. Anticipating that my opponent would be scared of the Golduck, I am going to go for Calm Mind. So Golduck could be faster than Medicham. It isn't for my team's sake, but in any case. They have Body Slam on their Salamence. That's cheesy as hell. But they don't get the... they do not get the paralysis that they need, so that's really good for me. I'm going to Endure against this Aerodactyl to get my speed boost. And now I should just sweep the team. Celebi comes in on Surf, which it is going to put it in range for Ice Beam, regardless of what Celebi had said it was. Based on how much damage it took from Surf, I think it would have just died to an Ice Beam anyway. But since this opponent here had a lead Medicham with no item, I think it's quite likely that they could have Fake Out. So I am going to Endure to scout for it. And yeah, they did go for it. So that's really nice for me. As now I just sweep the team with Golduck. And this is the idea. This is what we want. So this does not qualify for the challenge because my opponent did not have a high enough elo. So Yellowfin Mishaps, if you're watching this, step it up, man. I'm trying to get... I'm trying to complete some challenges here. No, I'm joking, by the way. Yellowfin Mishaps, just keep having fun. I think your team is kind of cool. I like the Aerobee idea, and then you have Magneton. It kind of reminds me of a team maybe like Fredazi would use, but I don't know. In any case, there you go. You could probably say I lucked this one, but I mean, honestly, we're playing Guacamole. You have to luck some to win. In any case, last replay here, maybe. We'll see. Am I going to beat this opponent here? Semi-literate. 1700 elo? Oh, hell nah. Oh, hell nah. There's just no way I'm going to win this. Lead Regirock versus my Tyranitar. They go for Focus Punch into my Sudowoodo switch. I did not want to take Paralysis or a fighting type move of any kind, or even Earthquake on my Tyranitar, so I will go to Sudowoodo. I thought there was a decent chance that they would go for Thunder Wave, and if they Thunder Wave my Sudowoodo, alright, great. And maybe I could get a counter off. In any case, that Focus Punch does not quite kill me. I am going to go for Low Kick to stop them from being able to Focus Punch again, but they reveal Earthquake. Not good for me. I will go to Ludicolo, who is threatening a strong Hydro Pump into the Regirock. They're going to go to Glalie. Kind of interesting. Given how much damage I did, I am going to go for Rain Dance and threaten to get the kill with Hydro Pump anyway. I Hydro Pump the Celebi for a really good amount of chip. And then I'll go for Ice Beam because that should be threatening to finish off the Celebi. I don't think it would kill, but it would at least outpace Recover Healing, I think. And then they reveal Lantern, so I'm thinking, okay, this is a cracked team. It's got 3 UUBLs in it. I think actually Glalie and Lantern are lower than UUBL, so kind of interesting. I will go for HP Grass, and I don't do nearly enough to kill, and they go for Thunder Wave, which is going to neutralize my Ludicolo here. Not good for me. I go for Ice Beam there, predicting Celebi to want to come in. I figure that I'm better into Lantern with my team than I am into Celebi, so I'd rather try to get that hard read on the Celebi, but alas, they stay in. Now they're going to switch to Glalie, as I think I went for Rain Dance there. Probably wouldn't have helped me, considering I cannot outspeed that Glalie, even with the Swift Swim boost. They're just going to spike up. I'm going to go for Rain Dance again so that I can maybe get a Hydro Pump kill. I get fully parried. Not good. Now they're going to blow up, and I lose my Ludicolo, which is really unfortunate, honestly, because if I had killed that Glalie, I at the very least had a chance to get damage on something else. Maybe they don't have a Pokemon on their team that can one-shot my Ludicolo. And I have really good coverage into what's revealed so far. So, could have mattered. I don't know. We'll see. I will go to Tyranitar to set the sand. I am also faster than Lantern, or should be anyway. Unless it was a max speed Lantern, but come on now. And I get the kill, and they reveal Golduck. What the fuck? I wonder what they were going to think when I reveal my Golduck. In any case, they have Calm Mind Protect, which is a really cool Golduck set, but I'm going to crit it, and that's going to be really, really good for me. I say my bad. Maybe I shouldn't have said my bad, because, come on, you hacks the crap out of my Ludicolo. That was going to go triple platinum. No, I mean, not really. But it would have been a nice little check to Golduck, because that HP Grass would have probably done over 50, even after the Calm Mind boost. But in any case, that crit probably mattered, because, well, obviously it mattered to kill the Golduck, but it probably mattered in the long run, because I don't know if Dragonite would have been able to come in and finish it off with its HP Grass. If they probably go up to like +2 or +3 and protect to get their leftovers chip healing. So it's possible I might have still been able to get the KO with the Dragonite, but I don't know how likely it would have been. And then it's also possible that this Golduck could have been max speed with Ice Beam to kill Dragonite, although I kind of doubt it. I would think that Golduck would not run that much speed, because, I mean, like, what, outspeeding Medicham? Is that really that worth it for Golduck? I'm not sure. Maybe if this gamer is watching my videos, they can let me know how fast their Golduck was, and if they think that they would have won if I didn't get the crit there. I think it's certainly possible that they would have won. In fact, pretty likely, because this team's terrible. In any case, my Tyranitar is not doing anything anymore, and this is most likely a Choice Banded Aerodactyl, so I want to see what they're going to lock into, and they go for a Rock Slide. So they don't get the flinch, so I can get my Ice Beam off, which is really nice, because now it's in range to die to basically anything. I look into my calculator here to see how much damage Aerodactyl will do with Rock Slide, and I see that I'm slightly favored to live a Rock Slide at 76% with Golduck. So I think to myself, alright, I could go Dragonite, and that would probably die. I could go Armaldo, and that would probably die. Or I could go Golduck, and if I don't get flinched, I don't get crit, and I don't get high rolled, I could just win the game here. So I am going to do that as I go and live on literally 2 HP. Get my Calm Mind boost. I am already at Salac range. Celebi will come in. It is getting that leftovers chip healing from the fact that we have Cloud9 up. And yeah, no, this Regirock is not going to take that Surf. It would have to be an extremely heavily specially defensive Regirock to not die to Surf. But if it has that much, I mean, even if it doesn't die to Surf, it's going to die to Dragonite. And I actually won, only revealing 4 Pokemon on the team against a 1700 gamer. That is really, really cool. Now, granted, their team was not the most, like, serious team, and it was a decent matchup. I think we were talking about this, that Aerobee, or as they call it, Aerosella, is the only matchup that this team can win. I don't think that that's true. I think it is probably one of your better matchups, like a realistic one that you would see this high on the ladder. Granted, you wouldn't see Lantern Golduck, but I think it was also really funny that we both had Golduck on our team. But yeah, the requirements for this challenge, you have to beat somebody who's above 1500, which I did do that, and then you have to use the show team command to verify that your team has no alterations at all from this standard. If you even alter 4 EVs, I think you would get not allowed to claim this. But that was my journey with Guacamole. I hope that it was kind of fun for you guys. I hope it gave you some ideas about what you could do to complete this challenge yourself if you would like to try it. And yeah, that's basically going to be it. So Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm just going to cut the video.